Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Thanks for tuning in tonight for tonight's update on our Grand Solar Minimum news. First of all, I want to start off with some space weather reporting. Our solar wind speeds coming in at 525.1 kilometers per second with a density of 8.69. Sunspot number, as you recall, on May 17th, we did a report on Tuesday and reported that we had 173 sunspot, smooth sunspot number. And I also raised the question, could we be beginning the solar max? It has steadily come down. We are looking at sunspot number 147, but we still have quite a bit of sunspot region action. As you can see here, folks, the J helioviewer is back up, but we're getting limited data from SDO. So I think this is just the latest and greatest of SDO footage, and we can see that the sun is definitely busy, crackling with solar flares, M-class mainly. We are expecting an X-class flare chance of about 15% and a 40% chance for an M-class flare as well. Now, the X-class flares that we've been seeing have been X1.1, X2.1, nothing very strong. If anything, they're just really strong M-class flares, to be honest with you. So, we'll continue to watch that. And very interesting stats I want to show you on our space weather page at thegrandsolarminimum.com. And I did mention cosmic radiation dosage rate still at 5.8%. Not as high as it was that we saw in solar minimum. Remember, we averaged between 9.5% and around 11.3% was the highest numbers. And then, usually general moderate cosmic radiation dosage rates would be somewhere around the 8% to 9% range. Now we are winding into the maximum of this cycle, solar cycle 25. But the odd thing is we are still seeing activity that would suggest it is still weak from the sun. And I know you're thinking, geez, look at all these sunspots, but bear with me on this as well, and I'll get more into that later. But we're looking at these sunspots that are starting to mitigate towards the center part of our star, which is an indication that this cycle might be a short one. And with an early arrival of a maximum only means a longer minimum. The last two minimums we've had from solar cycles 23 and 24 going into 25, each one have been a bit longer than the last. So traditionally, this minimum in the pattern that we have seen so far and what we're going to see, this minimum fittingly should be longer than the past two that we've seen. So it'll be interesting to watch as the months go by. But again, lots of solar activity on the sun. Again, I think we're in that peakish area, to be honest with you. Let's go over to our website stuff here. This is a filament here, a plasma ejection that's reaching out and then coils back. This is the beauty of magnetics, folks. So thankfully that long arm of plasma did not fire at us at Earth facing, but I thought that was a cool feature and wanted to show you that real quick. Let's go over to the grandsolarminimum.com on our space weather section. And this is what I was trying to show you a couple nights ago, but I couldn't get it to load. But as you see, as we're getting close to Earth facing, all these sunspots that we have coming around the bend in the northeastern limb. Again, we were discussing how we thought this sun cycle was starting to see these bands of sunspots mitigating towards the equatorial region, which they are. And again, these are sunspots that are coming around the bend of the eastern limb, and again, they are lining up with the rest that we have seen this week. So here we are Thursday going into Friday, and we have seen consistency of the sunspot activity mitigating closer to the center of our star. Other stats I want to show you really quick before I go into our stories for the day. Terrestrial data. I talked about this, about strong connections with the sun. All the planets being focused on one side, that's where the sun's going to focus the majority of its energy. Well, that's what's happening right now. I wouldn't want to be anybody on this side of the solar system. Thankfully, there is nobody really. I mean, Earth is technically still in that weak zone of magnetic connection. But everybody else, the party is over here, folks. So it'll be interesting to see as the summer months come around what kind of seismic activity, what kind of volcanic activity we get, just all kinds of things to watch. Plus, with all the coronal holes that we're seeing right now, too. In fact, speaking of coronal holes, I usually don't do this, but I thought this was a special occasion. Let's check out our broadcast from, pardon me, this is from Tuesday night, where I was talking about this Earth-facing coronal hole, and let's just have a listen real quick. At the SDO here, yeah, check this out. What do we see, folks, besides print? There we are. That is a pretty good size coronal hole. And usually when you see coronal holes that wide, we can expect some seismic activity. It is Earth-facing. Usually the parameters show us that we need to see a KP indice of 0 to 2 is usually what we're looking at, excuse me, when we consider earthquakes at a 6.5 or higher. Looking at this coronal hole, this could be a 6.7 to a 7.1 earthquake, or this could also trigger a volcanic eruption somewhere in the range of 30 to 40,000 feet on an ash plume. Studies have shown that low KP indices and earth-facing coronal holes, the wider they are, have shown a correlation between volcanic and seismic activity of earthquakes as well. So it's not a warning, but it's more of a watch. We could see something strong between the 6.5 and 7.1 range, or we could see a moderate to stronger volcanic eruption, maybe even push 50,000 foot ash plume on a volcano. So we'll be watching between now and the next 3 days and to see if that holds true. But that would help, wouldn't it? So what happens the next day after this video I did on the 17th? Today is the 19th. 2 days later, I said in the next 3, we got it in 2. Here we have a 6.7 earthquake in the Macquarie Island region, south of Australia. This happened early this morning, actually around 6:23 Eastern Time this morning. Let's go to USGS. There's the location. Now, we did have a tsunami warning. Obviously, nothing came of that, but we did have the warning as there was some concern of a possible tsunami there to Australia and other regions around that area. But again, 6.7 is what they're saying now. It was a 7.3. I've seen reports. I think USGS is going with 6.9. So I'm going to go with the USGS as well. The earlier reports was a 7.3. They dropped it down to a 6.9. We had a volcano eruption today of 26,250 feet. And as I said 2 days ago on a show that we did about this coronal hole, this wasn't prediction, folks. Again, I'm not predicting, I'm reporting. And what the sun shows me after doing this for the last 7 years, the sun has been showing me that these bands are moving to the middle of the sun. I'm not predicting this. It's actually happening. I go on and talk about coronal holes and the correlation of volcanoes and earthquakes. I'm not really in the business of predictions, but it did catch my attention today. Not only did I expect a seismic activity between 6.5 and a 7.1, but I also threw out the possibility of a 30,000 foot eruption from the volcano as well. And we got both within 2 days from the broadcast. Again, this was not just some gut feeling. There are actual studies out there that are peer-reviewed, and they're being connected between the sun and seismic activity. And I thought tonight it wasn't so much important to bring up the fact that I was right or anything like that. It's to show folks that I'm not just talking to hear myself talk. I'd be wasting your time. I'd be wasting my time. I have a full-time job. I have a family to take care of. I do this because I think it's very important that people understand what's happening and why it's happening. I upset our friend Dr. Keith Strong, and now he's making video after video trying to claim how I make things up and how I lie and just trying to like defame my character about my knowledge on solar cycles. I'd like to ask anybody or Dr. Strong, if I didn't understand the relationship between the sun and seismic activity, then how was I able to call not only an earthquake but a volcanic eruption in the same day from 2 days ago? Again, I don't have a secret informant or CIA informant calling me up and giving me, I don't have any friends at NASA or nothing like that. I don't even watch Dutch Sense, although I do find it amusing that Dutch Sense and I happen to make the same predictions sometimes without even watching each other's shows, which I know some of you probably don't believe that, but Mari can testify to that. I don't really watch any other YouTubers out there except for KLW News. Every once in a while, say hello to them. But I really don't follow a whole lot of YouTube anymore. Maybe Magnetic Reversal and, of course, Adapt 2030. But really, honestly, that's it. Just those 3 or 4 channels. So I thought it was important that I mentioned this event today. Nothing major. But again, I was able to look at the conditions on the sun. The Earth-facing coronal hole. The width of the coronal hole. The KP indices. And usually we can expect seismic activity from something like this within the 24 to 72 hours. It happened 48 hours after that broadcast. This wasn't a guess. This wasn't, any kind of inside information. This is just basic science from doing this for the past 7 years and being able to identify certain things. Just like when I made the call Tuesday about possibly seeing the maximum beginning now. Spoke to David Birch about that possibility. He agrees. Also, Lee Wilbarger, who is also big on the grand solar minimum topic, also agreed with my suggestion that we are beginning the max. And not only are we beginning the max, but he also agrees that we could be in a solar minimum by late 2023, early 2024. So, again, this is not stuff that we're making up. This is not a trick. This is not a gimmick. We don't have a hotline we call about earthquake predictions. This has just been stuff that's been taught to me, basic information. When you have the privilege to be able to speak to Valentina Zarkova, or if your wife is the site administrator of Zarkova's website, you tend to grasp it a little bit more on the knowledge. You tend to absorb it a little bit better. When you have the help that I have. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed and very privileged to be able to have a PhD solar physicist at just a Skype call away, folks. But again, I just thought it was important, if you want to attack someone's character and intelligence, that's, make sure you have your facts together, because I'm not on YouTube making up outlandish claims and blaming man for climate change. Now, I have a presentation I want to put together. I was going to talk about it tonight, but I want to talk about it in a full presentation that talks about temperature rise. And I'm not going to go any further than that because you're going to want to see what I have to show you guys. And I think this is a very interesting theory that does get talked about, but I don't think it's pointed out enough, and the emphasis on it should be really looked at, because some of the things that I'm going to bring to your guys' attention, it's going to really make sense as far as climate science and temperature rise and everything that is related with it. But that's going to be a different show tonight. I just wanted to redo a report on the space weather, a couple weather topics too, and I want to talk a little bit about farming. But let's check out this drastic temperature drop that we are experiencing out in the the Rockies, the Plain States. Do not adjust your screens, folks. This is not a broadcast from February. It is May 19th, and we are expecting snow in the Rockies. I'm not talking about 1 to 3 inches. We're talking a foot of snow possible in areas just outside of Denver. Now, folks, not only are we talking about temperatures or snow coming to the area, but we're in the 80s today. Tomorrow's highs will be in the 20s. Welcome to the grand solar minimum. I've been hearing about these wild temperature swings that happen during grand solar minimums. Wild 50 to 80 degree temperature swings. This is going to be close to a 60 degree temperature change in 24 hours. 60 degrees, folks. Now, a foot of snow in this kind of weather right now, I mean, it's not going to amount to much. But we are going to see winter weather on May 20th, folks. May 20th. Okay? I haven't heard a lot of mainstream weather channels talking about hot house lately. I haven't heard a lot of this talk on climate change or anything like that. You really see the climate change talk on Twitter or any social media platform like YouTube, Patreon. That's the only place we're talking about climate change. Even the media is getting quiet, and they're trying to hide the decline. There is an obvious decline happening right now. May 20th, and we're getting a foot of snow in Denver. That seems like global warming, right? That's right. Global warming is happening. So what is this doing, not just to temperature records, but look at this. Percent spring wheat planted. Minnesota, at this time last year, had planted over 90% of its spring wheat. It is under 7%, folks. I just checked out Millennial Farmer's Facebook page. His tractors are stuck in the mud. He's got all kinds of problems with his equipment, hydraulic issues, you name it. He's dealing with it. So on top of the weather not creating any opportunities for him to get work done, his equipment keeps failing. I guess that's the silver lining. At least he's not missing out on planting because the weather's not cooperating. So a good time for your equipment to break down is when you can't plant. But this is starting to get a little serious, folks. When you look at these numbers, and we're at May 20th. Tomorrow's May 20th. We're officially more than halfway through May. And I know my farmer friend Matt in Nebraska has always told me that you really want to have your plant in the ground no later than June 5th, June 10th at the latest. And that is pushing it. That's pushing it. If we're at less than 7% in Minnesota right now, I'm here to tell you that we are not going to see any kind of improvement that's going to put crops in the ground before June 5th or June 10th. Those are facts, folks. I'll show you that here in the forecast as well. What else? Let's show you what it's doing to the rest of the country. Look at this. All of the Midwest and the Great Lakes regions, really, we're not known for farming here in New York, but, it's still behind. I'll buy a lot. Let me get this picture here. All right, here we go. So as you can see, this region up here is not really known for all the farming. It's not like we're growing wheat and crops up. I mean, we do, but it's not like, fruitful over here. But yes, southern Ohio, definitely a good crop area. Corn, soybeans, across Kentucky and Tennessee, very good cropland. And of course, across the South. And then up here in the Midwest, this is kind of the breadbasket of our agriculture. All right, this is the sweet spot for where we grow. And I would actually include Indiana. And like I said, Southwest Ohio is in there as well. A lot of rural areas, farmland in western and southwestern Ohio. Indiana is full of it, Illinois, and of course, all over these Midwestern and Plain states. These are numbered. I know you can't see them very well, so I'll just go ahead and read off to you the actual percentage of planted crops right now. Right now, we have 7% crops planted in Minnesota. I'm sorry, 5%. So it's less than 7%. Wow. 5% in Minnesota, 7% in Wisconsin. 13% of the crops are planted in Illinois. It's not any better in Iowa, as we are sitting at 11%. South Dakota is also coming in at 11%. North Dakota, folks, I think that is, yes, that's a 3%. 3% of crops are in the ground, so the northern plain states are in severe trouble. We are 2 weeks away from that deadline of plant. You have Nebraska at 35%. They're not getting any moisture, and they're battling fires. 35% of their crop is in the ground. I know Matt's already told me their wheat is done. Their wheat crop is done, and it hasn't even been planted. It's done. Big time trouble. Same thing in Kansas, only 32% planted. Looking good in Texas, 79% of its crops. In fact, I had a friend, or not a friend, but a customer of mine today telling me that he just got back from Texas. Very warm and humid down there. So not a surprise to see Texas thriving in their crops. Warm and humid temperatures usually promote lots of growth. Same situation in Mississippi, 69% crops in the ground. Georgia, you're looking good right now, 74%. But still, we're behind. These plants, this should already be done. And of course, nothing grows in the desert, so they don't even count that. Like, they don't even include these states on the map. Like, nope, we don't grow. But no, the major spring crops, folks. You know, the Northwest, surprisingly, we must not have a lot of crops in the ground in the Northwest, because I almost find this hard to believe, as bad as it's been moisture-wise for the Northwest off and on this year. But you can tell right now, the heartland of this country, as far as our agriculture goes, is well under 30% when it comes to crops that are planted in the ground. Not good, folks. Rising fuel costs continue. Do we get any moisture across? Let's focus on the weather here. I really want to highlight, I don't really care about Florida, or I want to focus on this area right here, because this is where we are seeing the problems when it comes to planting. Whether we're too wet or too dry, this is the problem area right here. So let's see what Mother Nature has in store for us over the next few days. This is starting tomorrow. We have showers and storms across the Midwest and Missouri into Illinois, and parts of Wisconsin also seeing showers. More rain moving in Minnesota and the Dakotas as well. Like I said, that snowstorm beginning tomorrow in the Rockies. Those isobars get really close together, so that also means high winds and a quick pressure and temperature drop very fast. This storm will pick up very quickly and drop lots of snow in a short period of time. But this thing kind of lingers around actually all the way through Saturday into Sunday morning, early Sunday morning, before it finally moves out. So the snow event is going to be about 2 days. The most snow is going to happen on Friday into early Saturday. But as far as moisture goes in the farm areas, the areas that don't need it, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, you're going to get more of it. The places that do need it, parts of Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri, are not going to get it. Snow coming into the North Dakota state at 3%, by the way, on their crops. They're done. They're done, folks. It's done. You got snow showers moving in on May 20th. Okay. Rain moving across the Midwest, again, in areas that already have plenty. Maybe from this snowstorm, Matt, you might see some showers or two from this snowstorm in Denver, and it's going to give you some moisture for Saturday and Sunday. Very light. Again, very light. You need way more, I know. Storms and showers developing across the south, across Houston, into Louisiana, into Arkansas, and into the Ohio River. A big system moving over. And guys, the temperatures this weekend are going to be something else, especially for us here in the Northeast. Cold in one region and blistering hot in another. This is just some wacky weather. Oh, that's right, grand solar minimum. I forgot. Yeah, so more rain showers moving into the south, into the Northeast. High pressure moving into the Great Lakes and Northern Plains. Drying things out for a couple of days in Minnesota, Wisconsin. Bringing some much-needed rain to Nebraska on Monday and Tuesday, May 23rd and 24th. And that showers, man, that is definitely needed. More rain showers for Kansas next week on Tuesday, May 24th. And this system will begin to move eastward and affect the Ohio Valley region. Multiple lines of storms will be coming through Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and back into the Northeast. So this pattern is going to be almost repeating itself weekly. More rain to areas that don't need the rain, and less rain to the areas that need the most rain. Again, across the areas it's going to be very dry. It doesn't seem that you're going to get much relief. The areas that are getting wet, minor relief, but still plenty of moisture moving through South and North Dakota, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. And then more snow showers are predicted in the upper parts of Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Utah, and that's right, the higher elevations of Colorado once again. You could see more snow by June 1st. Now, it's not uncommon to have June snow in the United States. It happens. It's been happening a lot more since 2016, ever since we've been in a minimum. And even though we're coming out of a minimum into a maximum, we're still seeing colder springs, shorter summers. More rain across regions that don't need it. This is looking, actually, let me take that back. Much needed rain that will be more than suffice will happen, hopefully, on June 1st. Hopefully. I'm crossing my fingers for you folks out there in Nebraska, Kansas. Again, North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, you don't need this moisture, but it's coming anyway. So this could delay plant for the northern plains definitely into June, folks, with the amount of moisture that is moving through. The lack thereof in Nebraska and Kansas, it's not going to be a severe situation as it will be in Minnesota, but I can tell you that most of the crops in the northern plain states, North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, we're looking pretty bad right now, folks. And I know the wheat crops as well not being planted. We're having wheat shortage issues across the European nations, wheat shortages in Middle Eastern countries and Asian countries. And now we are facing wheat shortages here in the United States for the foreseeable future, which will only raise prices. Now, little sneak peek. June 4th could be our first named hurricane entering the Gulf of Mexico. And here's why, if that actually holds together, why this could be a definite thing when it comes to storms, and that is temperature of the ocean right now. And the Gulf is very warm. Everywhere else is cold. El Nino region 3-4, still below baseline almost by a full degree. La Nina 1-2, which is what feeds the 3-4 of the cold water, that's still over a degree and a half below baseline. The North Atlantic has now suddenly dropped huge warmth that took place from March all the way until May 5th. We are seeing values now plummeting back to baseline just within 2 weeks. All that work. And of course, this is the global sea surface temperatures, global ocean average. We're talking about 0.179 above baseline, folks. And I'll get more into the global sea temperatures as well, because that's going to be part of my presentation on Saturday, maybe Sunday. I don't know yet. But I want to get this right for you guys. So let's take a look at temperatures here in the United States. I told you in the Gulf, we're going to see things get a lot warmer down there, especially when we get into June. But look at all this nice warm temperatures, folks. Talk about a ridge and fridge. Look at that. 88 degrees in Albany, New York. That's me. That's me, baby. Saturday and Sunday, we're going to be blistering hot. 94 degrees is called for the high here in upstate New York. But back in Kansas, my good friend Matt Bros, unfortunately, your high is only going to get it to 62. Family in Southwest Ohio are going to be in the 50s. I'm going to be 92 degrees in New York. And it's going to be 54 degrees in Dayton, Ohio on Sunday. That cooler weather moves across the United States, once again bringing spring back into the picture early next week. And then things start to regulate back into the 70s, the low 60s, and mid 60s into the low 70s. And look at this, by the end of the month, Memorial Day weekend, we are going to see significant increase in temperatures to make it nice to actually do things outside. You see that swath of green and yellow? Well, that's from all the rain. And we've talked about this many times on this show. The more moisture you have, the cooler the conditions are. The drier the conditions are, the more sun you get, the more temperature increase you will get. And here we are seeing clear evidence that we are getting large amounts of precipitation. When you look at this map here, it shows us exactly where the majority of that precipitation has fallen. But very nice to start the weekend here on Memorial Day weekend, next weekend on Friday, May 27th. And then we get into Saturday, May 28th. Again, gorgeous for most of us across the United States. Very hot conditions in the Southwest. You'll see that. And then by Sunday, again, just another pleasant, beautiful weekend here across for many of us across the Northeast, the Midwest, the South even is pretty nice. Northwest staying on the cooler side of things, but Plain States and the Northern Plain States as well, seeing temperatures in the 70s. Perfect weather, but unfortunately there will be moisture with that too in areas we don't need it. As we finish off our Memorial Day weekend on Monday, there's your high temperatures. Again, that green swath right here, folks, that's where we're going to have rain. Unfortunately, it will keep things a little cooler. Still warm on this side, and where it's drier, we will see even warmer temperatures across parts of Kansas, parts of Oklahoma and Texas, and across the deep south as well. But very, very pleasant weather on the way for us for Memorial Day weekend. It's just a matter of who stays dry and who doesn't. But we'll get to that forecast later next week. And really, when you look at the temperatures here, fast forward, the majority of the rest of this month looks pretty average, except for the Northwest. A little low. Even parts of Idaho, 37 degrees for a high temperature, 41 in Washington and Oregon as well. But the heat comes back early June across the most of the United States. Summer, even though it doesn't officially start till the 21st, will be here on the temperature map by the 1st of June, as we are already looking at several days in the 80s and 90s, and that does not look like it is going to go away anytime soon. So, we said this. Grand solar minimum brings us longer and colder winters, late arriving springs, and not really much of a spring. It kind of just shifts right into summer because it doesn't have as much time to stay as warm. During grand solar minimums, we have short, hot summers and long and cold winters. Drawn out, dragged out, whatever you want to call it. That's happening right now. That's also happening right now. So, next time you want to watch a shill channel like Keith Strong or any other channel out there that wants to tell you that CO2 is causing climate change, remember that when you watch channels like Grand Solar Minimum, Adapt 2030, Magnetic Reversal, remember that folks on those channels show you the statistics of what the sun is doing. They explain to you how seismic activity is correlated with the sun. And not only that, we're all pretty good at understanding when these earthquakes and volcano eruptions are going to happen. And that's just not a coincidence, okay? It's just years of experience in doing this. And we're not paid shills. We don't work for the oil companies. We don't work for anybody. This is for the good of humanity. To explain to you folks that we're being lied to, that we're being told things that are going to save the planet, but it's all about controlling you. It's the fear of climate change. If you have people in control, the only way you can do that is if you have them scared. And by telling you that we are constantly in a climate crisis every day, that countries are going to be wiped off the face of the planet, and then you see weather headlines, hurricane heading towards the States. People panic. People comply when they're scared. COVID was a great example of that. Pretty much all of us complied at one point until we started seeing what was really going on. And then that fear turned to anger. So, again, check out our channel. Go to our website, thegrandsolarminimum.com. I invite you to go check out Keith Strong's page, too. I want you to hear some of the nonsense that some of these shills that are anti-science on the sun try to spew out. And this guy is supposedly a solar scientist. He has supposedly a degree in solar physics of some sorts. Now, just because he doesn't agree with the solar physicists that I follow, doesn't mean that he's not taking some kind of payment from some organization that has him in their pocket to help solidify their big global warming lie. I don't know. But I'm telling you guys, If you're new here and you haven't been here before, you go back and look through our library of videos, it's nothing but scientific facts. There's no Sharpies involved making up new maps or anything like that. Everything is based on empirical data or what's actually happening right now. I want to say hi to a few people out there in the chat. Hello to Jesse Vorwald, our favorite Wisconsin farmer. Good to see Aria in there. Well, Patricia Clayton, good to see you. DKTK, as always, welcome. Lisa B, good to have you in our chat as well. Knife Collector, my lovely wife, Mari, hello. Wendy, good to have you in our chat as well. Thanks for joining us here at the Grand Solar Minimum. Shirley Davis, Robert Hill, also in the chat. Pizza Hut, Manfrey, DK Leith, also Robert Van Dearth, and many, many, many others here that we have. I see a lot of new faces. And Cuban Mama, hello. You said hi to me last time, and I didn't get the chance to respond. Vert Caver, also good to have you with us tonight as well. All right, guys, be ready for another broadcast on another Grand Solar Minimum report, either Friday or Saturday. And like I said, I'm working on a presentation right now that I think I can shed some light on climate and temperature change and how that works, and just get to the bottom of why we see such a drastic difference in temperature data from 1850 to now. I have some very interesting stuff to go over, so we'll do that then. All right, until then, guys, hope everyone has a great evening. Thanks for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe. Check us out on Patreon. Join us for $1, or just simply keep watching us and sharing us. That helps as well. Until then, folks, next time, we'll have a good night. We'll talk soon.